What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, then welcome to our little corner of the internet. Today we're going to be diving into Weird Histories channel. Again, it's been so long since I've watched a video from them, but recently we've been watching a few videos on Alcatraz, and I just saw this on their channel. It's the Ghosts of Alcatraz, so I'm excited to see what this is about.
On a lonely island in the middle of San Francisco Bay, the now abandoned Alcatraz prison sits silently. Dubbed the world's most secure prison, it has long been thought that no one has ever escaped from it and lived. But maybe even in death, there is no escape. Because after opening its bars, Alcatraz remains one of the most haunted prisons in the world. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into the ghosts of Alcatraz.
I wonder if Alcatraz is like a place that you can visit nowadays as well. Like, do they make like visits? Probably. But I mean, there was 3 men who got on a boat and got out of there and nobody knows where they are. So they might have escaped, maybe?
Before the island was given the nickname The Rock, and before it was even given the name Alcatraz, the land was known as a place to be avoided by Native Americans belonging to the Oloin tribe. The Oloin believed the island contained evil spirits and would even use the land as a place of banishment or isolation for members who had violated tribal laws.
Wow.
But despite their legends of evil spirits, the island was also used by the Oloin as an area for food gathering at times, especially for the sea life and bird eggs that were plentiful on it. So plentiful that in 1775, when Spanish explorer Juan Manuel de Ayala mapped the island, he christened it La Isle de los Alcatraces, or Island of the Pelicans. 75 years later, in 1850, President Millard Fillmore signed an order reserving the island, now called Alcatraz, for military use. During this time, a fortress was constructed on Alcatraz with some 100 cannons installed around the island to protect San Francisco Bay. At the same time, Alcatraz also became home of the West Coast's first operational lighthouse. By the late 1850s, the U.S. Army began keeping military prisoners at Alcatraz. Isolated from the mainland by the cold, strong waters of San Francisco Bay, the island was an idyllic locale for a prison. Well,
I wonder what it would look like if nothing was built on there. Like, sometimes, I wonder what the world would look like if nothing was built here, but that island must have been so pretty.
Alcatraz was a military prison. Its inmates were a varied lot. This included Confederate sympathizers and citizens accused of treason during the American Civil War, as well as so-called rebellious American Indians, including 19 Hopis from the Arizona Territory, who were sent to the prison in 1895 following land disagreements with the federal government. The inmate population at the island continued to increase during the Spanish-American War in 1898. During the early 20th century, inmate labor fueled the construction of a new cell house, resulting in the 600-cell structure that still stands to this day on Alcatraz. The inmate labor also produced a hospital, mess hall, and more prison buildings, and according to the National Park Service, this new complex, finished in 1912, was the world's largest reinforced concrete building.
It looks like a little town on an island. This is really cool. I'm guessing this is like, well, obviously this is the main prison building, but what are these houses though? Did he just say? This looks like someone tried to put like a normal house in the middle of a prison. Finished
in 1912, was the world's largest reinforced concrete building. It was 1933 when the Army relinquished Alcatraz to the U.S. Justice Department, who were looking for a place they could turn into the prison system's prison. This meant the most disruptive and dangerous inmates could be sent from other penitentiaries to carry out their sentences at what would come to be known as The Rock. During the 29 years the island spent in use as a federal prison, Alcatraz held some of the most notorious American criminals of all time.
Only 29 years? I thought it would have been a prison for way longer, but that's not a lot of time.
Federal prison, Alcatraz held some of the most notorious American criminals of all time. Names like Al Capone, Robert Stroud, known as the Birdman of Alcatraz, George Machine Gun Kelly, and Bumpy Johnson. These high-profile prisoners no doubt helped bolster the infamy of Alcatraz as a home for the worst of the worst, as well as an inescapable fortress for all society's dregs. But there were still plenty of residents of the Island of the Pelicans who still tried to use their wings. 36 men, including 2 who tried to escape twice, were involved in 14 separate escape attempts. 23 were caught, 6 were shot and killed during the escape, and 2 drowned. 2 of the men who were caught were later executed.
Oh, it's true. I think 2 of them escaped in a boat, but they don't know if they drowned, no? They never found them again.
Executed at the gas chamber in the California State Prison at San Quentin for their role in the death of correctional officer during the famous Battle of Alcatraz escape attempt in 1946. The closest anyone ever got to truly escaping the rock would be 3 inmates by the name of Frank Morris, John Anglin, and Clarence Anglin. These 3 did manage to break out of the prison, but were then never seen again and are believed to have drowned in the cold water surrounding the island. But because no bodies were ever found, their ultimate fate remains unknown. This would not
They might have escaped, who knows?
be the only mystery for the island, but throughout the years it was an active prison, and now as a landmark for tourists there have been countless tales of otherworldly encounters haunting the rock.
That also responded to me. So you can visit the island. That would be something that I would love to do. Like, I don't know, it sounds a little bit like diabolical to be like, I want to go to a prison island where people died. But I just find it interesting. That didn't make it any better, but you know what I mean. Like, it's a historic landmark.
While the island still served as a federal penitentiary, a number of guards reported hearing unexplained sounds of sobbing and moaning, cold spots, and sometimes terrible smells. Most alarming are the numerous claimed encounters with an entity known simply as the Thing. This inhuman creature, reported by more than a few guards, was said to have appeared as a shadowy figure with glowing eyes. Even Warden Johnston, who steadfast claimed not to believe in ghosts, once came upon the unmistakable sound of a woman sobbing while leading a number of guests on a tour of the prison. The cries were heard not only by the warden, but also by the guests who were described as coming from inside the walls of the dungeon. But just as the group were preparing to investigate further, the sobbing stopped and an icy cold wind reportedly blew through the group.
Also, now that I think of it, this was an old man's prison. Why are there more? Obviously, I think there's more men prisoners than women, but why?
In 1940, during a Christmas...
I guess men are, sorry, I always like start the video, then I'm like, let's start speaking, but I guess men are like more inclined to do crime. Also, I can hear something. I think my phone's ringing.
An icy cold wind reportedly blew through the group. In 1940, during a Christmas party at Warden Johnston's, several guards told the story of a ghostly man who suddenly appeared before them wearing a gray suit and brimmed cap with mutton chop sideburns. As the astonished guards stared at the specter, the room suddenly turned ice cold, and the fire in the stove was extinguished. Seconds later, the ghost vanished as quickly as it appeared. Another occurrence happened only on foggy nights, where many guards have...
I would love to hear in the comments below, do you guys believe in like ghosts and spirits? I feel like I do believe in spirits. I'm quite a spiritual person, I would say, but like extremely skeptical, you know? Like, I always try to find the logical sense to everything first. So a lot of the times, like, it's kind of sad though, because it's nice to believe it. Like, how would it, like, it would be nice to hear this and be like, wow, but I just can't do that. I'm like, why that beard cut though, you know? Why not a mustache? I don't know.
It appeared. Another occurrence happened only on foggy nights, where many guards have stated seeing an old lighthouse that was once on the island suddenly reappear. Some accounts say this phantasm is accompanied with an eerie whistle and a flashing green light which makes its way languidly around the entire island. Guards have also repeatedly reported the hearing of phantom cannon and gunshots accompanied with blood-curdling screams. The seasoned guards employed at Alcatraz would often take cover, believing that prisoners had somehow escaped and obtained weapons, only to then look around and see absolutely nothing. These incidents, like all the rest, could never be explained. But while all these stories are sure to send a chill up the spine, they don't compare to the notorious D block of Alcatraz, the most haunted block in the whole prison. D block, which would come to be known as the treatment unit, comprised of 42 cells with varying degrees of restrictions. For all prisoners incarcerated in D block,
I know that prisoners are in prison for a reason, but that it looks so sad. Like, imagine having life with no parole in there. Like, that's the only thing you see every day. It's, I mean, they're there for a reason, but it's still really sad to imagine.
42 cells with varying degrees of restrictions. For all prisoners incarcerated in D block, there were absolutely no contact with the general population. 36 of the cells were virtually like the others in the general population. However, inmates were not allowed to work or go to the mess hall for meals. In fact, the only contact granted to them was one visit to the recreation yard and 2 showers each week. Meals were also delivered to their cells, and their sole diversion was the reading of prison-approved material. 5 of the remaining 6 cells in D block were known as strip cells, but were more often referred to as the hole, reserved for the most serious offenders of prison rules. These cells were located at the bottom tier and the coldest place in the entire prison, and contained only a sink, a toilet, and a low-wattage light bulb that would be turned off by the guards when they felt like it. The prisoners' mattresses were taken away during the day, and they were not allowed at any time in the yard or showers or given reading materials. Inmates would be sentenced to as many as 19 days in the hole, completely.
You know, recently I've been a bit down. I don't know. We all go through phases, but hey, at least we're not there. Like, we can go outside and breathe fresh air. It's pretty nice. It's pretty gnarly in here.
Given reading materials. Inmates would be sentenced to as many as 19 days in the hole, completely isolated and in a state of constant boredom. The last strip cell, known as the Oriental, was the most severe punishment the prison could assign. Assuring the complete deprivation and isolation, the dark steel encased cell contained no sink or toilet, just a small hole in the floor for prisoner waste. Inmates were placed naked in this cell, given a restricted diet, and confined in a totally pitch-black, cold environment. Although a sleeping mattress was allowed at night, it was removed at dawn each morning.
That's crazy. Like, I don't know. I mean, yeah, there's people who have done many bad things in their lives, but I don't know. Would you guys agree that that is inhumane? I mean, this might be really bold to say, but I almost would root for a death penalty before this, because that's torture. I don't know how I feel about that, but that, like, seeing these cells up close, which in other videos we haven't really seen, is very eerie.
Inmates were usually only subject to this degree of punishment for only 1 to 2 days. A former guard who worked at the prison in the 1940s reported that guards often saw the ghostly presence of a man dressed in late 1800s prison attire walking the hallway next to the strip cells. On one occasion, when an inmate was locked in the hole, he immediately began to scream that someone with glowing eyes was in there with him. The guards ignored the inmate's pleas even as they continued well into the night, until suddenly, the screams stopped and were replaced with complete silence. The following morning, when the guards inspected the cell, the convict was found dead with a terrified expression on his face and noticeable handprints found around his throat. The autopsy revealed that the strangulation was not self-inflicted. Many believe the explanation was that the inmate was strangled by a guard who had finally had enough with the incessant screaming. There was an investigation, but no culprit or confession was made from any of the guards. Most eerie.
That's creepy. I feel like humans are even creepier than ghosts. I mean, if you asked me if I wanted to be, you know, the what is it? Like the bear or a man question. Like, would you rather see a bear in the forest or a man? Would you rather see a ghost or a human? I'd pick the ghost, honestly. I feel like with a ghost I can still negotiate, you know? Humans are unpredictable.
The morning after the death, when the guards lined up the convicts for daily count, one too many convicts were in the lineup. At the end of the row, numerous prisoners and guards reported seeing before them the recently strangled convict. As everyone, guards and prisoners alike, looked on in stunned silence, the ghostly figure was then said to have vanished. Alcatraz became a national park and tourist attraction in 1972. But even today, visitors and staff continue to see the
In
unexplainable on the island.
1972.
Most who
that's
come to Alcatraz now go to see a bit of history, and maybe even to safely and temporarily experience what it's like to live behind cold bars. But the numerous accounts of the paranormal have become so intertwined with the overall history of the island that no trip is complete without a guide walking guests through some of the most popular ghost stories. One inescapable yarn revolves around Alcatraz's most infamous inmate. It seems that when Al Capone was imprisoned at Alcatraz, he was assigned to a cell located on the outside west end of cell block B. And though the gangster was never allowed a musical instrument or a radio, many have to this day reported the sound of a phantom banjo strumming within his cell. Stories like these have proven to be an irresistible attraction to various TV programs and paranormal authors throughout the years. There have been a long list of so-called ghost hunters and paranormal mediums who have brought camera crews to the rock in order to commune with ghosts and make a compelling story for themselves to sell later. One notable example is when a CBS News team brought a celebrity psychic, Sylvia Browne, to visit Alcatraz. What makes this story different from the others is that Browne brought with her ex-convict Leon Thompson, a former inmate of Alcatraz. On their visit, Browne immediately encounters an unseen presence and strong impressions of violence in the laundry room. In the video segment of this encounter, while Browne describes seeing the apparition of a tall man with a bald head and small beady eyes, former inmate Leon Thompson moves forward and says he knows the ghost the psychic is witnessing. Thompson names the apparition as Butcher, going on to state that he was a hitman with Murder Incorporated before they caught him, and that his real name was A.B. Maldonowitz, but that all the other inmates called him the Butcher. Thompson ends by reporting that another prisoner killed the Butcher there in that very laundry room. Prisoner records confirm that Maldonowitz was killed by another inmate in the laundry area of cell block C. It has been said that no one who ever stays in the prison ever truly leaves, as part of them remains lost forever to the time served behind bars. But in the case of Alcatraz Island, perhaps this is not merely a metaphor. Perhaps there are souls trapped on the island who have found something even colder than the surrounding waters of San Francisco Bay to keep them from finally being free.
The Dark Secret of the Real Men in Black? Oh, we need to watch that. Coming up in tomorrow's episode. No, but for real, I want to watch that. Wow. I mean, yeah, it's a place with terrible history. So if anywhere there would be, these ghostly sightings and stuff like that, it would be there. But I don't know. I do not know, guys. I don't know. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below, though. Do you believe in these things? What do you think? Have you ever been there? I would love to go, though. I would love to go. And yeah, I guess I have nothing else to say. So, thank you guys for joining me for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Please do subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.